Hello, everyone, and welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 219. Andrew Eisen here. You are there. Okay, so for the last several weeks, one of my viewers suggested talking about escort missions in video games. The ones that work, the ones that do not work at all. So I thought of some games I've played that have escort missions, and I came up with a list of 10. Well, 11, but Last Guardian is not a game I've played, so that doesn't really count. But I had a list of 10 games. Well, 11, but two of them I kind of combined into one. And the list happened to evenly divide into 5 pretty good escort missions and 5 pretty bad escort missions. And Drake says, "Oh, I'm familiar with escorts, just not in video games." So, so let's finally. And I'd been meaning to talk about this, but I'd been leaving it to the end of the show, and for the past like 3 podcasts, I just never got around to it. So we're gonna start the show with it this time. Yes. So, for those not in the know, um, video games have many tropes. One of them is ice levels. Video games love ice levels. They're just something you find in a lot of them. And they have slippery ice physics where your character goes scooting along after they've stopped moving because of the slippery ice, you see. Another trope is red barrels explode when you shoot them. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense that they explode when you shoot them. Doesn't make any sense that they're red. Doesn't make any sense that they're just liberally littered around these places. Doesn't make any sense that the bad guys are constantly just hanging out by them. But they're there. You see it in a lot of video games. And yet another trope is the escort mission. Now, this is typically in a single player game. There will be a section, sometimes it's the entire game, but usually it is a portion of the game where your main protagonist, your playable character, will have to escort a non-player character through a particular level or sequence unmolested. So you've got a non-player playable character, and you've got to get them from point A to point B without them dying or meeting some other fail state. Most gamers tend to hate these. And generally speaking, it's because the player can't rely on the escortee, the non-player character you're escorting, to do what they should do. They often have no sense of self-preservation, which is frustrating when you're trying to, when your failure, or rather, it's frustrating as a gamer when your success is not based on your skill. It's based on the competence of a non-player character that you have no damn control over. So I wrote down a list of 10 games, and we're going to go through them now. So one of the good uns, I would argue, is Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time. Now, there are a few sequences in the game where Farah, I think her name is, tags along with you, and you have to get her from point A to point B. Farah works as an escort mission because her function requires you to manipulate the environment. As the prince is just your playable character is a parkour master. He can run along walls and dash up columns and flip off horizontal bars. So he can get from one end of the room to another end of the room that has no floor, no problem. He's like, I'm just going to run along the wall and leap off and grab onto the column and then backflip over here and do that. And Farrah's like, yeah, I can't do that. So you're going to have to figure out some way to get me across. So Farah never bothered me because her function is figure out is a puzzle. It's figure out a way for a normal human being to traverse a room from point A to point B. I don't recall if you get into any fight sequences with her. If you do, I don't recall her being a problem. So I'm sure she handles herself just fine in a fight. Hello, Cabal. So Farah, she's also a fun personality. She can be pretty snarky. She's like, yeah, I can't do that. I can't do the wall run thing. I can't defy gravity or physics like you can, Mr. Man. So she's fun. So Farah, I feel, is an example of a good escort mission. She doesn't hinder you through her own inability to do something. She provides you an additional challenge that you have to overcome. That works for me. On the negative side is ICO, Ico. One of these days I'm going to care enough to actually look up and see how that game's name is pronounced. Most of the game that I've played anyway is an escort quest. You are a boy who, much like the Prince of Persia, can climb around rooms without a problem. For you, getting from point A to point B in a particular room, not a problem. However, Yorda, who is the woman you have to escort, she can't climb, she can't jump, she can't do much except walk, and even then she has problems. So it's the same idea as Farah. You can get out of the room no problem, but you have to figure out a way to manipulate the environment in order to allow Yorda to come with you. So far, so good. Where it comes into a problem is Yorda is completely and utterly helpless and constantly gets into problems. Number one, you occasionally use her as a weight. Like you need her to stand on a pressure plate to keep a door open. Sometimes she won't stay put. And you need her to stay put to hold the door open so you can go in and climb up onto the roof and push a box off the roof and use the box on the pressure plate to hold the door open so that she can come in with you. But sometimes she doesn't want to stay there. How do you tell her to get on the pressure plate in the first place? You have to grab her by the hand and drag her around until she stumbles onto it, which can be tough in and of itself. Navigating her where you want her, specifically where you want her, can be a chore. Getting her to stay, sometimes she just doesn't want to. She's constantly being kidnapped by inky ghost monsters that you have to beat with a 2x4, which is really boring because the combat in the game sucks. So you clear out an entire room of inky ghost monsters, which is also difficult because it's one of those pre-scripted cameras. You have very little control over the camera placement or movement. So finding the bad guys or where they took Yorda to can sometimes be difficult because it may be to a corner of the room that you have to run to the left and then up the stairs and then across the balcony to actually get an angle over there. Oh, there she is. By that time, she may have been sucked into the black darkness. Yorda is also slow. Her pathfinding is terrible. She is an albatross around your neck. She is a real pain in the butt. And you often think, you know what, I'm going to just leave you here. You're honestly not worth the trouble. So, Ico, bad escort quest. Because the NPC is just unbelievably frustrating to work with. This next game, I consider an example of a good escort quest. Most gamers seem to disagree with me on this one, which is, fine. I don't have a problem with that. I just find it kind of surprising. Ashley from Resident Evil 4. I think she's good. She's with you about in 3 different sequences throughout the game. She gets kidnapped a lot. So the plot of the game is the president's daughter has been kidnapped. Are you a bad enough dude to save her? Well, you're Leon Kennedy, Leon S. Kennedy. So you are indeed a bad enough dude to rescue the president's daughter. So you go to town and you find her, and then you escort her for a while, and then she gets kidnapped. And you have to find her again. And you do. And you save her. And you wander around with her. And then she gets kidnapped again. And then you find her again. And then she gets kidnapped again. Then you find her and you get on a jet ski and leave. And then she makes a pass at you, which is kind of uncomfortable because I think she's like a teenager and you're significantly older than that. But thankfully, Leon is like, no, young girl. No. Now, I think Ashley is a good escort quest, or is a good character whom you must escort through several sequences of the game. Because, in my experience playing the game, Resident Evil 4 is one of my favorite games. I love that game. It's one of the very few games I have played through more than once, just because I like it so much. Ashley, when she is in your party, so to speak, she always sticks right on your butt. She is always right behind you. Wherever you go, she follows you. She doesn't get stuck on corners. She doesn't get distracted by things. She doesn't get lost. She always stays with you. She always clears your line of fire if you have to turn around quickly and shoot some tentacle monster that's coming to get her. If she gets kidnapped because you're preoccupied or busy, she yells out your name and lets you know in no uncertain terms that they're hauling her away. Please do something. She goes, Leon! Some people just really hate the sound of her voice yelling Leon. Fair enough. I didn't find it grating. Of course, I'm so damn good at the game, she rarely ever called my name. She didn't need to. Because whenever we went into a new area, I would tell her, Ashley, see that dumpster? She'd say, yeah. Say, hide in that dumpster. She said, okay. And she stays in that dumpster. And I would proceed to clear out the entire level of bad guys, and I'd be on the far end of the level, and I'd whistle for Ashley, and she'd pop out of the dumpster, in which she stayed the entire time, and path found all the way to me without a problem. I was super impressed. I was on the other side of the stage. I thought she'd get stuck or something, because it's one of those stages where you have to, climb up the ladder and go across the thing and down the other side. I was like, oh man, I'm going to have to go back and physically get her out of the dumpster. I'm either too far away or she's never going to be able to pathfind to me. Nope. I did not find a single area in the game that she could not pathfind to me. She always stayed put when I told her to stay put. She always came when I told her to come. Well, that sounds disgusting. Whenever she was in my party, she always is right on my bum, does not get, that sounds gross too, does not get stuck on corners, does not get distracted, does not get lost, and constantly clears my line of fire if I point a gun at her head. Good on you, Ashley. You get kidnapped a lot, but as far as escort NPCs go, you do it right. I'm one of the few gamers that think so, but it's my show, so I think you're doing well. But then we move on to Resident Evil 5, which isn't an escort mission as much as it is a co-op game where if you play it in single player, the second player is controlled by the PC or the console. Shiva, I think that's her name. Is that her name? Because that's also one of the Mortal Kombat, that's one of the Mortal Kombat fighters. Oh, well, I'm going to call her Shiva until someone actually corrects me in the chat. She was actually fine for the most part, But she does have a particularly irritating quirk. Suzanne, hello, says Resident Evil games are annoying with stocky controls. Yeah, it depends on the game. For me, some games I think control quite well, and some I definitely agree the controls aren't great. Shiva's her quirk is Chris, your player character, and Shiva essentially share an inventory. Like Chris has a nine, can hold 9 items, and Shiva can hold 9 items. So you, the player, have 18 inventory spaces to use. They're just divided equally between the two characters. So if you need a healing spray, you have to call Shiva or walk over to her and swap items. Okay, sure. Interesting mechanic. So she can hold all the stuff you can, all the medallions and jewels and crap that are used to unlock doors, also ammo, also healing items. Anything you can carry, she can carry too. So she's basically an extension to your inventory. Here's the problem. She can use your inventory, and she is not shy about using your inventory. You stub your toe, and she will use a first aid spray on you. She also chews through your damn ammo. And ammo is, generally speaking, in Resident Evil, even the more actiony ones, a pretty precious resource. It's something you do not want to spend willy-nilly. Shiva, did you just use all of my Magnum ammo? Yeah. Shiva, don't, I have, 100 health. It's not measured this, but just for illustrative purposes. If I have 100 health, if 100 health is my max, and I drop down to 98, do not use a first aid spray on me. Do not even use a green herb on me. It's not a good ROI. You got to wait until I'm down here. You got to wait until I'm critical before you use the first aid sprays. You jerk. You can't choose settings for NPC not to use items like in most RPGs. I honestly don't remember, but when I played the game, what I ended up doing is I would not let her have any ammo or healing items. She was my pack mule for key-based items only. She held on to the crank. She held on to the jewels and the medallions and all the crap that you have to put in slots to open doors. She held all the puzzle items. She was not allowed to. Maybe she could hold the empty rocket launcher. Yeah, but she would not. I did not give her any ammo or healing items because I could not trust her with them. I could not trust the non-player character to use my limited resources intelligently, which is why I categorize Resident Evil 5 as a bad escort game. That's right, Resident Evil 5. You're bad, and you should feel bad. Although punching a boulder will never get old. That is genuinely funny. Lacking the I in AI. Like, it's not so much artificial intelligence as it's just artificial, period. So moving back to escort quests that I think work well, let us talk about Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. This is the one where you actually trade off Yoshis every single level, and you'll know why in a moment, as you try to escort baby Mario to the stork that dropped him. I honestly don't remember what the end game is. But you're Yoshi, you have baby Mario on your back, and if you get hit, baby Mario gets trapped in a bubble and goes floating off and screams, "Ah! Ah! Ah!" which incentivizes you to go get him right quick. And his scream is genuinely butt-clenchingly distressing. On the other hand, I think that so it is kind of irritating. You want to save him as quick as possible, just to shut him the hell up. And you might think, well, that's bad, right? I could see the argument for it, but on the other hand, that's some really good sound design. Because I can imagine that before Baby Mario cried, the playtesters just kind of let Baby Mario float around in a bubble for a while. Because, you've got like 20 seconds or something like that before it game overs. So you get hit, Baby Mario goes floating away. Probably most players before the screams just, cleared out the room full of enemies and then picked up Baby Mario. Nintendo's like, okay, but we want to incentivize the player to immediately get Baby Mario. You drop the baby, pick up the baby. The horrible, horrible screams. Oh my God, shut up. Okay, geez. It works. So if you don't want to hear Baby Mario scream, get good. But other than that, Baby Mario stays on your butt, never falls off, never makes any noise, doesn't consume your inventory items. Baby Mario's great. It's got an annoying cry, but as a mechanic of a game, I think it works perfectly and with specific intention. If you drop baby, immediately pick up baby. Even though you have 20 full seconds, you want to get it instantly. And that horrible, horrible cry, make sure that you do. So, Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, good Escort game. Now, here's where I combine two games. GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, both great games, both games that I quite like. Both games that have escort missions with a non-player character that typifies annoying escort NPCs. In GoldenEye, there's a level or two where you have to escort Natalia. She has no concern for her safety. In fact, she seems to be completely oblivious to bad guys with guns. She is going to follow her scripted path and execute whatever the scripting tells her to do. Get out of jail cell, run down the hallway, go into main computer room, hack the terminal. She is going to do that. It does not matter that bullets are flying. It does not matter where the bad guys are and what they're doing or if they're shooting at her. She does not care. She does not notice. She will be the reason that you failed. It's not your fault, James Bond. It's not your fault. It's Natalia's fault for having absolutely no sense of self-preservation. I'm doing everything I can to protect you, Natalia, but I can't do everything. You got to work with me here. All right? Maybe duck, or maybe just stay here for a moment while I shoot the guards in the hallway, and then once I've shot the guards in the hallway, then move. Stay behind me. Something. I mean, I'm impressed that you are completely unfazed by the bullets flying, but goodness gracious, Natalia, you're going to get yourself killed. And if you die, I fail, and that reflects poorly on me. And I've got a performance review coming up. And my salary depends on the performance review. So please, Natalia, please, duck. Perfect Dark has the exact same problem. There's a couple escort ones. I think probably the most notorious one is the one where you have to escort the president on Air Force One, I think. He, like Natalia before him, does not care about dudes with guns. He has a scripted path that he follows, and he's going to follow it. Does not matter where the bad guys are, if they're shooting at him or not. It is incredibly frustrating. So this is an example of a game with an escort mission where you fail because the NPC is an idiot. And you, as the gamer, refuse to take responsibility for that NPC's idiocy. It's like, You were responsible for that character. You let them die. They killed them. They got themselves killed. That was not on me. You can't blame that on me. And there are a few things more frustrating as a gamer than dying or failing when it's clearly not your fault. When the game just decides to kill you. Like you're playing D&D and you have a petulant DM with a vendetta against you. You wouldn't let him have the black jelly beans, so the ground just opens up and swallows you. Oh, you died. Sorry. It happens. I guess you should have let me have the black jelly beans. This is actually not based on anything. I just made that up. I don't know why black jelly beans. You want black jelly beans? If I had jelly beans, assorted jelly beans, and you wanted the black ones, you can have them. Because I don't like black jelly beans, which is funny because you think, with my fashion, aesthetically I like the black jelly beans, but yeah, I'm not a licorice kind of guy. So, all right, where are we? Okay, moving back on to the good ones. The Last of Us. So I don't know about the second game. I've not played it, but I did play the first, and I thought it was very okay. In the game, throughout most of it, you are escorting little Ellie. Little Ellie actually works quite well as an escort NPC because she is invincible and the bad guys can't see or hear her. So she may as well not even be there, which might seem like it's immersion breaking or make the game seem kind of pointless. But I think the pros outweigh the cons in this case. It is really weird that she's just kind of standing out in the open and none of the clickers or humans or any of the other bad guys can see or hear her wandering around. And that's weird. But on the other hand, if they could, imagine how monumentally frustrating and utterly aggravating that game would be if the bad guys could see and hear Ellie. You would be able to stealth nothing. So yeah, I'll take invisible Ellie. It's an odd choice. It plays really weird, but I think it was the right choice. I don't know if that's how it's handled in Last of Us 2, but that's how Last of Us 1 works. And again, it's weird, but it keeps you from failing every mission because Ellie's just standing out in the open or walks into a clicker or, she also doesn't use your resources. Occasionally she hits someone with a brick, but she doesn't attack until you do, so I don't recall her ever taking the initiative in a fight. So she has never caused me grief. It's always been kind of weird, but she was never a problem throughout the game. And that seems like a low ask. I mean, I'm certainly not awarding you a gold star for that one. That seems like the bare minimum you could do if you have an NPC accompanying character. But yeah, so good job, Ellie. You meet the bare minimum requirements for a escort NPC. Reach for those stars. On the other hand, we have a game that has, one could argue, probably the worst escort missions in the AAA game space. I, of course, am speaking of Dead Rising. I've only played the first one, so I don't know how well or not well it's handled in the sequels. But in the first game, it is really, really, really difficult to keep the escort NPCs alive, because like Natalia before them, they have no sense of self-preservation. They have no fear. You might have you found a survivor, her leg is broken, and she's limping. You're trying to get her to the safe room, and she's limping her way across the mall. And it's like, all right, broken leg person, we have to cross the food court to get to the back hallway that leads to the safe room. It's clear. So all we have to do is just mosey on. There's zombies over in the burger joint over there, but they're way over there, so that's fine. There's zombies in the sports store over there, but they don't see us, so that's fine. There's one zombie by the trash can, but he's just picking his nose. So as long as we don't engage him or walk into him, we should be able to just walk straight through the food court. So limp your ass that way, and we will say, no. Your person's like, a zombie! I'm gonna kick his ass! I'm gonna limp over there and punch that zombie in the face. No, that's better. I'm gonna get that crowd of zombies, and then they get eaten and they die. And that's a constant problem in Dead Rising. Would you like to hear how the game makes that even worse? It's so simple, it's brilliant. It makes the escort mission with incredibly stupid characters who have no sense of self-preservation. They will just, no matter how injured they are, they don't have any form of offense, they don't have any weapons or anything. They will just, I'm gonna get those damn zombies, and then they die. You have to keep slamming on the follow me button. So Frank West is like, hey, follow me, come here, hey, come here, hey, follow me, hey. And like, oh, okay. And so you're constantly jamming on this button to get them, please disengage the zombies and follow me. You know how you can make that worse? Escorting 3 people at the same time. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not always one-on-one. Sometimes you have to escort multiple dumbasses in that game. And if you are like me, I'm sorry, but if you're like me, you want to save everybody. You want to save everybody. You're the hero. That's what heroes do. But you assholes are making it really hard. Just run across the food court. Zombies, zombies. No zombies, zombies. Where should we go? That way. Where are you going? That way. Why? And then you're escorting 3 people. They all run off in different directions. It's like, no, you assholes. Just go to the safe room. Please. You're making it much harder than it has to be. We're in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. Why do you want to make this hard? Hello, Matthew. Matthew says, well, play Warframe. You can zip across the map and your escort can keep up. No, great. Hello, Chaos says, always found the Dead Rising games to be rather poorly designed. I think I can only speak on the first game. Yeah, there are definitely, there's a lot of good in the game. There's a lot about the game that I really, really like, but yeah, there are some definite, there are some things that are designed, there's nothing wrong with the design, it was just the execution that didn't work, but there are also some, what I would consider design issues, just fundamental problems with the design of the game that make the player sit there and go, okay, yeah, but why would you do it that way? So I agree. Hopefully that got addressed in subsequent games, none of which I played. So let's see. Best zombie games, says Chaos, are Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, which I've not played. Real Bucky, hello. I think this topic was the one you recommended weeks ago. Glad you're here. Matthew says Dead Rising is the definition of a flawed game. Yes, I would agree that Dead Rising epitomizes the flawed game. A game that I genuinely think is worth playing, with the caveat, with the understanding that it's not perfect. One would argue it's not even good, but it's got so many wonderful, fun things in it that I feel that it's definitely worth at least experiencing. Even if you don't play through the entire thing, it's just so damn charming, and there is genuinely, I think Dead Rising was something like 2006, and at the time, it's the idea of being able to wander around an open space. It was one of the early open sandbox type games that really delivered on the promise of its premise. That being, you are stuck in a mall with during a zombie apocalypse. Now, what that premise suggests is, okay, I need to go into the various stores in the mall to pick up anything that's not nailed down and smack zombies over the head with them. That is exactly what the game delivers. You can go into every store, and every store has a ton of different things, even useless crap, that you can pick up and throw at zombies. For example, you go into the sports store and you can grab the hockey sticks and smack zombies with hockey sticks. Go into the music store and grab guitars and smack them in the head with a guitar, and it makes a clown noise like you're playing hunting horn and Monster Hunter. You can go into another music store and grab CDs and throw CDs. Doesn't do anything, just kind of bounces off their chest, but it is hilarious. So it's one of the first open world-ish sandboxy games that really delivered on the promise of its premise. That's not as notable or today as it was 15 years ago, but at the time it was pretty amazing. And I think even still today, it's just so damn charming. It's fun to wander around the mall and just go into different stores and see what items you can pick up and what they do, because there are just dozens and dozens of different weapons in that game. It's funny how some of them are genuinely completely friggin' useless, but you can use them anyway because they're funny. So Dead Rising, bad escort game, but it's pretty fun. I enjoyed it. Let's see. Real Bucky, did I talk about GTA in different time periods in one game yet? And I asked what can be done to fill out that empty open space. No, well, I mean, we did it a couple weeks ago, but not as a full topic. Matthew says, mall? What's a mall? Fair point. And the fact that it takes place in a mall super dates it. True. So let's see. So Dead Rising, bad. Okay, so two more, one good, one bad. I would say a good one is Ocarina of Time. I think it's Ocarina of Time, the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Princess Ruto, who's a Zora, is technically an escort quest, but you have to pick her up and carry her everywhere because she's a princess and she ain't walking. I think it's in the Great Jabu Jabu dungeon, where she is essentially she's a big paperweight, and she sits, cross-legged with her arms folded, even when you pick her up above your head. It is so funny looking. And basically, you just pick her up and put her down. And the goal is you can get through the environment fine, but since she's not walking anywhere, it's how do I get this immobile object from point A to point B if she's not going to lift a finger to help. Which is simultaneously frustrating. It's like, oh my God, just get up and walk, you pain in the ass. But that's literally the point of her character, and the presentation to me was just genuinely damn funny. And it also has the consequence of you don't have to worry about pathfinding because she ain't moving. She's not going to get lost. She doesn't wander off, and she always stays where you put her. So I would chalk that one up to a good escort quest. So the last one, and this one might be pushing the definition of escort quest a little bit, but I would consider Star Fox a bad escort game. And I'm speaking specifically of Slippy Toad, who's bad at his job, constantly needs saving, to the point where you just like, you know what, just die, because you're useless to me. Fox, help! Fox, help! There's a real high falsetto voice. Die, Slippy. Just die. You deserve it. For daring to get behind the controls of an R-Wing when you're clearly incompetent. Oh, it's my responsibility to keep you alive, Slippy. Every time. Multiple times in every damn level. I should just let you die. I'm going to let you die. Because I don't want to hear it anymore, buddy. I don't want to hear you calling for help. I've got better things to do. Like saving the galaxy, Slippy. Something that you're not helping with. The time I spend saving your dumbass over and over is time I'm not spending helping anyone else who doesn't have the advantages that you have, Slippy. Like a fighter jet with missiles and lasers. Hey, Slippy. Slippy. Hey, Slippy. Do a barrel roll. I don't know if Slippy is supposed to, I mean, Slippy became a joke, but I mean the original Star Fox. I'm wondering if Slippy was supposed to be a joke. I tend to think no, but Slippy is just genuinely annoying. Nobody likes him, and no one wants to save him. And I don't recall there really being any consequences to just let him die. Who cares? He doesn't add anything. All he does is annoy you. And he's not helping. So, to be fair, Slippy never got in my way, so to speak. Making sure Slippy survive, I don't recall that ever being a requirement, so it doesn't really matter. But the fact that it doesn't matter, and he's so terrible, and you're not incentivized to keep your teammates alive, I feel that's a bit of a failure on the game's part. Granted, it's been like nearly 30 years since I played the game, so I may be perhaps forgetting some context or details, but yeah, if you look at Star Fox through the lens of an escort mission, Slippy's one of the bad ones, and Slippy should feel bad. Bucky reminds me that Princess Ruto in Ocarina of Time, you can even throw her at bad guys. You can. Bucky says, "I want an open world game where every almost single interior can be entered. I thought I saw some kind of technology that enables that a while back. I don't remember where now." I recall one game that actually did something similar to that, and that is Shenmue. I think it's Shenmue 2, actually. There's a big building that you The most explicit example of this is towards the end of the game. There is a big building that you have to get to the roof of, and you can go in like all of the different apartments, and there's fully modeled rooms, and they seem to be doing some thing where they have a handful of layouts and a handful of props, and they just use like a maybe a randomizer or something, unless someone set decorated every single room. um, all the rooms seem to be distinct. They have they pull from the same pool of furniture, but the beds are in different places, different art hanging on the wall, stuff like that. Here's the problem with something like that: it wastes time, especially when you're a gamer like me who is inclined to explore every square inch of the map. And all of those rooms are open and modeled and available to explore, which is neat, but there's nothing to do, there's nothing to see, there's nothing to find. It's realistic in the sense that you can go into every room in that building, but there's nothing there. Another thing is that, especially that the original Shenmue did, is that every drawer and cabinet could be opened, and you could look at all the stuff inside and pick them up and look at it. You couldn't do anything with almost anything. It never mattered. It wasn't a part of gameplay. It's just something you could do for the sake of doing it. It's like, oh my God, I can open this drawer and there are socks in this drawer, and I can pick up the socks and look at them. You don't get any more information there. You can't collect anything. There is almost, to my recollection, there's almost never anything in any drawer anywhere. So there's no point in exploring all these rooms or opening the drawers. So all that to say, you do have to be careful with such a wish. An open world game where you can explore all of the interiors. That sounds like a cool idea, but you do run into the potential problem. Not that you couldn't do not that such a thing couldn't be done well, but I've seen attempts at it, and so far, what that does is you just have a bunch of empty rooms with nothing interesting in them, and what should have taken you 10 minutes to go up to the top floor took 4 hours because you explored every room because of fear of missing out. Got that FOMO going. You thought, there might be something, there might be a fighting scroll where I could learn a new move hidden in a desk drawer in one of these rooms. Maybe. Nope. Nope. Are there any characters in any of these rooms to talk to? Nope. It's all empty. I don't recall a single character in that entire building. Certainly genuinely ambitious, and it was in the original Shenmue. It was genuinely really cool the first time you explore Ryu's home, where he lives with his aunt or someone, and you're in his room and you're just opening the drawers. And to be clear, there is a lot of visual storytelling that you can do by what kind of objects you find in Ryu's dresser drawers. You can. That can be used as a storytelling device, even if there's never anything particularly useful in the desk drawers. No items to collect, no scrolls to learn fighting moves. It could be used just as environmental storytelling. You could learn more about your player character or the other characters whose rooms you're visiting while you rummage through their sock drawer, and learn about the characters by what items they have, the books they have on their shelves, what they keep in their dresser drawers. Shenmue doesn't do that, though. It's just, look at this. Isn't this cool? We've modeled all this junk in the drawer. Is it useful? No. Does it tell a story? Does it inform you about the characters? No. But at first, it was genuinely really cool because we hadn't really seen anything like that before. I mean, I think Shenmue's a bad game, but I think it's an important game. I think it was definitely a solid and important stepping stone to much better games, like Yakuza, which is one of my favorite video game series at all time, of all time. At all times, yes, at all times, it's one of my favorite series. Yakuza owes a lot of what it is, I think, to ideas that were, uh, if not pioneered, at least broadly popularized by games like Shenmue. There are several games where you can trace working elements of them back to games like Shenmue. So while Shenmue, I think, is genuinely a bad game and not fun to play, um, it was genuinely really fascinating at its time because it was doing things that really nothing else at the time was doing, which makes it kind of understandable that it doesn't do them well because it was kind of uncharted territory at the time. But I certainly would never begrudge the game its existence because I think it's definitely earned its place in video game history. Chaos is speaking as Zelda. I'm hoping that Zelda is a companion character in Breath of the Wild 2, just with, good AI that you don't have to babysit the whole time. I've mentioned this on podcasts before, but what I would have liked to see is like a second quest for Skyward Sword. One of the interesting things about Skyward Sword is during the quest, Zelda and Impa are off on their own quest, and Link crosses their path a couple of times throughout the game. So a few times throughout the game, you'll run into Zelda and Impa on their own adventure. And it's like, how neat would it be if there was, if after you beat the game or something, there was like a second quest and here's what Zelda and Impa were doing the entire time. Did Nintendo do that? No. It's a shame. Missed opportunity there. That could have been real neat. So yeah, I think there's definitely room for something like that. I of course, like Chaos and probably most of you, am maybe a little apprehensive about companion characters because they don't always have the best track record. Not Nintendo specifically, just in video games in general. NPC companion characters, they don't always have the best track record in these games. It could be super cool. It could not. Don't know. Well, we'll have to see. I'm actually genuinely interested in learning more about Breath of the Wild 2 because I wasn't the biggest fan. I'm not the biggest fan of Breath of the Wild 1 for lots of relatively minor reasons. I mean, no individual reason. It's like, this ruins the game. But there were enough, actually sitting right here, as a matter of fact, there are enough small issues in Breath of the Wild that bug me, that compound to the point where that decreases my enjoyment of the game overall. I think it's a solid game. It's a good game. I enjoyed it. I'm waiting to get a new computer so I can actually finish it because I want to do a Sunday stream where I've finished Legend of Zelda. So I've done pretty much everything. There's still several hundred Koroks I haven't found, but I don't care. Really, all I have left to do in the game is storm the castle and kick Ganon's butt. So I hope to do that on stream at some point. So maybe another month. Yeah. Three more components to go. Still back ordered. One of them says mid-January. The other two, don't know. So, at least I can stream podcasts from my work computer, so that's something. Let's see. Bucky says, like Atreus in God of War, one of the greatest. You would think Who's Atreyu? Wait, is that the name of boy? Is that boy? Is that Kratos' kid? And I think you think you have to babysit characters, but you really don't. Characters in gaming history. So I'm guessing that's the boy in the newer God of War, but 2016, 17, somewhere around there. Matthew says Yakuza did everything Shenmue was trying to do. Yeah, I'd probably say something similar. It's like Yakuza. It's just like Shenmue, but good. So what Sonic Adventure did, I didn't play that one. So James, hello. Paper Mario did that with Luigi in Thousand Year Door. Him on his own quest, escorting the Punies, and that was a mess. Yeah, I remember Luigi often doing his own thing in that. Yeah, it's always it. I think it was Thousand Year Door where you actually got to play Peach in between chapters just momentarily to see what she was up to, and that was always so neat just to see what she was up to and what she was doing. And she actually, what she was doing had an effect on what Mario was doing too. So I thought those sequences were really well designed. Boy. You've got two boys. You've got Kratos' boy, and then you've got the tall Angus Scrim, the tall man in the phantasm things, yelling at Mike, Jesse, Joshua, Jody, Mike and Jody, right? Who is the younger kid? I don't remember, but he'd always boy. So Chaos confirms, yes, Kratos' kid. Atreus. I can't remember your it's like, oh, what's your name? Atrion? Atreyu? No, that's a never-ending story. Boy. Whatever. Come here, boy. Bucky says, I still want to return to form of Paper Mario in the vein of the original Thousand Year Door. No partners killed the subsequent games for me, and make Paper Luigi a thing. That's an interesting thing. There aren't a lot of things that gamers will universally agree on, but there are some, and one of them seems to be Paper Mario, the original, was good, and Thousand Year Door is damn near, if not genuinely a masterpiece. I think everyone seriously loves Thousand Year Door, and for good reason. It's a great game. And while I can respect Nintendo for coloring outside the lines or, exploring new avenues within the franchise, it's hard to criticize Nintendo. It's like, why aren't you just doing the same thing that worked? I feel like I want to encourage companies to try new things and let their creative flags fly and, not be beholden exclusively to what worked in the past, because that would get stale and boring. But considering that none of the subsequent Paper Mario games have been anywhere near as good as Thousand Year Door, maybe just take one game to kind of rehash the formula. Now, to be fair, I've not played Color Splash or Origami King, I think it was called. And reviews seem to be kind of mixed on Color Splash, although Origami King seemed to be a general step up, but still nothing super amazing, is what I took from the various reviews I read. Super Paper Mario was so damn different. It's hard to compare it to Paper Mario. It was just really wildly different. You're like, all right, for what it was, I thought it was kind of cute. It's like, oh, this is an interesting change of pace. I think I prefer how Thousand Year Door did it, but this was a very different thing, and so yeah, okay. And then they came out with Sticker Star, and I was like, oh, okay, we're back to more of a Thousand Year Door style here, and the sticker thing looks interesting. And I played it, and I never finished it because it's not a very good game. And then they kept doing the same thing with seemingly with Color Splash and Origami King, neither of which I've played because I wasn't that interested. Aesthetically, I like them, but it's weird that Nintendo seems so reticent to make a good Paper Mario game, or rather, a great Paper Mario game. It's like, we can't make it 2 RPGs. We've got the Mario and Luigi games. I'm sorry, what law are you citing where you can't have more than one RPG series? That's weird. Find me one gamer anywhere on Earth at any point in history. One gamer, a single gamer in existence ever, who would have said, you can't have 2 RPG series by one company. The Paper Mario doesn't. They already have Mario and Luigi. Why are there 2? There are literally 0 gamers who would have a problem. Literally 0 gamers throughout all of history who would have a problem with a more RPG-focused Paper Mario game when the Mario and Luigi games exist. Of course, that excuse hasn't really held water for years because the last Mario and Luigi game, I think, was, Bowser's Inside Story. Has there been a new one since that one? And that one's, I don't know. That was a DS game. So that was pre 3DS. I'm pretty sure. Oh well, hope springs eternal. Bucky says Super Paper Mario was just a bit better than I thought it would be. Yeah, I like Super Paper Mario. It's not what I wanted out of a Paper Mario game, but it was still fun for what it was. Maybe a little long-winded in some of the dialogue, and there is one thing with like a spinning wheel that you have to run on, like a hamster wheel that you have to run on for what feels like literally 10 damn minutes. It's probably not that long, but it's so long that you as a player feel like I must have missed something. That it can't possibly be that I'm just supposed to sit here holding right on the D-pad for 10 minutes or whatever it is. I must have missed something. No, you just run in the spinning wheel for a super long time. Yeah, that was an odd choice. Oh, Paper Jam. I forgot about Paper Jam. I wonder if everyone else also forgot about Paper Jam. I think everyone forgot about Paper Jam. That one wasn't very well received. That was, at least that's my impression of the reviews I remember reading. James says, I think I heard the Mario and Luigi devs closed down too or something. So we just have paper, I think. I honestly don't, I think I know, but I don't know for sure. So I'm not going to guess. So, okay. The official MX says, hey, have you even played Skate 3 yet? No, I've not. I played the original Skate. Wrote a guide for it. The guide, there's only one. No, I wrote a guide for it too back in the day. Wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. What I'm thinking of is Tony Hawk 8, which was Tony Hawk Project Skate or something like that, and then they put the 8 in the S key 8 T or some weird thing. I don't think I've played any of the Skate games. So, although that particular Tony Hawk came out after the first Skate and was inspired by some of the the manual kick flips and stuff where it zoomed in on the board and you could manually kick flip and do all kinds of stuff. It was definitely inspired by a lot of mechanics from that game. So I did play the Tony Hawk that was inspired in part by the original Skate, but no, I've to my recollection, I've not played any of the Skate games. Don't know if I'd enjoy them. I enjoy the Tony Hawk games for the most part. I think 3 is the best. I liked Aggressive Inline, which was an inline skate game. Thought it was really good. I'm surprised that one didn't get a sequel. So, well, it's 8 o'clock, a little after 8, but let's talk about Mandalorian. Do I remember the Bucky says the old canceled Wii game Project Hammer? Yeah, I happened to be at E3 in 2006, so yeah, saw that one at the time. It's supposed to be a dark and gritty title. It didn't look gritty. It looked pretty goofy, but whatever. It was canceled because they couldn't make it fun, and apparently the developers were racist. Well, that's no good. I didn't hear that part of the story. I did hear that the game just wasn't working. At E3, it was, fine. You just wandered around an area and smacked things with a hammer. It had over the top attacks. It's like, there could be something here. E3 is just not a great place to actually play games, honestly. You can get off your board in Skate 3 and smack people with the board and stuff. Did not know that. Or knew it and then forgot. So let's close the show by talking about Mandalorian, and I'm going to spoil it. So if you've not seen the end of the Baby Yoda show, I'm going to spoil it. So Luke Skywalker saves the day. Our heroes are cornered by a platoon of dark troopers, which are robots that are immune to blasters. So you can't shoot them. And they're hiding on the bridge of a ship. They've taken Moff Gideon hostage, but the dark troopers are going to break their way in. Then Luke Skywalker shows up and saves the day. The dark troopers may be immune to blaster fire, but they are not immune to lightsabers. No. That cuts right through them. So Luke Skywalker shows up and he fights the dark troopers for 3.5 hours. It's not that long, but it definitely feels like it just goes on for friggin' ever. It's really boring, actually. I mean, it's like, oh, lightsaber fight. This is cool. And it's like, oh, it's still going. Oh, it's still going. How long is this sequence? Oh, my God. So he kills all of them, which means our heroes don't have to do anything. And then he shows up, and it's a genuinely horrible, embarrassingly bad effect. It's an actor standing there, and it's a CG projection of younger Mark Hamill. And not only is it just genuinely a bad effect, it's so bad that when I first saw it, I genuinely thought they just hired another actor to play Luke Skywalker. I went, oh, okay, brave choice. And I looked at it and went, oh, wait, no, that's an effect. Oh, that's supposed to be Mark Hamill. That doesn't even quite look like him. So, interestingly, I seem to be the only person who has a problem with it, because I've seen literally no one online or on social media anywhere. Of course, I'm not the most plugged in person. I've seen no one say, wow, that effect sucked. I actually just spoke to my sister this afternoon. I said, hey, are y'all caught up on the Baby Yoda show? And she says, yes. She agrees with me. The effect was bad. So that's 2. What say you, chat? Do you think the effect was bad? Bucky says, why didn't they just hire Mark and DH him? That's a fair point. Mark Hamill was in the credits. I don't know what exactly he did because he wasn't the actor stand-in. But I mean, Disney owns the studios that do the de-aging work, or rather, I don't know what effects house they farm out, but Disney has a lot of money. Surely they could have hired whoever does the de-aging in the more recent Marvel films. I mean, they de-aged Sam Jackson for the entire running time of Captain Marvel, and it was great. But they didn't do that this time. They got another actor, and they just kind of projected a really bad rendering of Mark Hamill over his face that doesn't really move or emote much. I'm wondering if it didn't move or emote much because they were like, "Oh, this is the serious stoic Jedi Luke," or if it was just a bad effect and they knew they couldn't get to it. It's like, okay, don't blink or move your mouth much, even though you're talking. Don't make any real facial expressions because it's going to make the effect look even worse. Lindy says, I don't watch that show, even though people keep telling me it's good. It's pretty fun. I wouldn't call it good. I would call it enjoyable. I've watched both seasons and I enjoyed it. There's a lot to like, I think, but I I think there are many good things about it. I think many moments are good, but overall, I don't think I would actually categorize it or classify it as a good show. But definitely fun and definitely enjoyable. Um, so narratively, one of the so I mean the effect sucks. Oh well. The other problem is Luke just, I mean, it's not surprising that Luke showed up. I think we all knew that was going to happen because, Baby Yoda sends a force page and who's going to respond? Ahsoka already said no. Maybe Ezra's kicking around from the Clone Wars. Maybe they want to use like Kyle Katarn or something, whatever his name was from the games. But I mean, no, it's obviously going to be Luke. The only real question was, are they going to just recast him or are they going to do some type of an effect? And again, my first thought was, oh, they recast him. Oh, wait, that's just a really bad effect. That's supposed to be Mark Hamill. Wow, that's embarrassingly bad. So it's not like the fact that Luke shows up was surprising. That was set up. Little baby Yoda, Grogu, sends out a page through the Force, and one of the only Jedi that could hear it responds. I knew that would happen. My problem is that Luke just takes away, it just ends up solving the problem for our heroes, which is kind of a letdown. It's like, oh, well, that's a shame. So what could they have done instead? Well, so here's the scene. We have our heroes trapped on the bridge, and the other side of the door are like 20 dark troopers. And we've already seen that one dark trooper is more than a handful for the Mandalorian. He barely took down one himself. So our 4 heroes or however many were in there, probably not going to do well against 20. So what if, how in the Tremors movies and the TV show, how the characters are constantly facing an ordeal that's probably going to result in them all getting eaten by some monster, but they pool their resources, they think outside the box, and they execute some 1 in a million shot, probably not going to work plan, and it ends up working. That's part of the charm and one of the reasons I like those movies so much. At least the the first four and the TV show. The last few movies I thought have been just really, really bad. So imagine if our heroes are on the bridge and the other side of the door, 20 dark troopers, and they're like, okay, I've got an idea. It's a long shot, probably not going to work, but it's so crazy, it just might. And they work together and they execute this crazy plan, and it almost works. They like get 12 of them, but 7 or 8 survive. So it's them versus 7 dark troopers. They're gonna die. It was a good shot. It was a good chance. We tried our best. We genuinely came up with something clever. We got further than anyone would have ever expected against an entire platoon of dark troopers. We took out 12 or 13 of those sons of a guns. No one can say we didn't do our damnedest. But we're still going to die because there's like 7 left. And then Luke shows up, mops up the remaining ones, and that's that. I think something like that would have worked better. Also, that probably would have shortened the incredibly long scene of him tearing through dark troopers like tissue paper. Because the other thing is that's like, oh, shoot, man. If only one of them had a lightsaber, probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. Oh, wait. They do have a dark saber. Maybe we would have tried using that? No? Okay. Could have been part of that, plan that didn't quite work and still gave Luke something to do when he showed up. I think Mandalorian is a bit too comfortable taking his helmet off now. Not that it isn't, not that I don't think he should have revealed his face to Baby Yoda. I definitely think he should, but he just feels just like, well, no big deal now. Just pops it off in front of 6 other people. I was talking to my sister about on this point too, and I said, and she agrees because she's right, as everyone is when they agree with me. You see, that's how it works. I said, I just felt that him just taking off his helmet in a room full of people and continuing to stand there without his helmet is a little much. Like, I mean, he just took his helmet off in the last episode because he had to. So he can do it, but I would imagine it's still probably difficult, right? So I thought, maybe if, he's holding Baby Yoda and he just, pulls it up a bit, I mean, he's still taking it off. There's still other people in the room, but it still gives him a little bit of privacy and makes it a more private moment between him and Baby Yoda. Kind of like what he was doing in one of the earlier episodes when he was drinking soup. He just lifted his helmet a little bit to drink his soup. And Baby Yoda's like, if he just, lifted it up a little bit. I mean, Luke's standing there. You can see him. Everyone, Bo-Katan and some of the others stand behind him. They can probably see his profile. But it would make it, I think, a bit more believable and also make it a bit more, intimate and personal because it's between those characters instead of just open for everyone. I mean, I wouldn't need him to, okay, Baby Yoda and I are going to go to a different room now so that I can, pop my helmet off and say goodbye and then come back. I don't think we needed to go that far, but, maybe he's still not completely comfortable with removing the helmet. So he just lifts it for the kids' benefit. No need to take the entire thing. I don't know. I just felt that might have worked a little bit better. So, So let me move the thing because I'm covering up the chat here. Bucky says, Lindy says, there are so many actors in their 40s and 50s now that need to stop playing that their 20s. I don't know. I mean, if the effect works, the effect works, and fine. But honestly, recasting is not a problem. Just recast the part, for crying out loud. Just get someone who captures the spirit of Luke. I mean, he doesn't have to look exactly like him. I mean, you want someone who has the same basic face shape and a body type as Luke's Mark Hamill in his 20s. But I don't need him to. I don't need. You can recast people. It's okay. We'll get over it. It's, to me at least, much preferable than a really, really bad effect. And Disney, I imagine, it's probably preferable. It's probably cheaper. So, chat dead. Chat does. I don't know. Well, I mean, there was a 8-minute gap between comments, but it doesn't seem to be dead. Bucky says, I just want Mando season 3 to have 10 episodes, each an hour long. Same with all the other Star Wars shows. What? What other Star Wars shows are 10 episodes and have hour-long episodes? I mean, the first episode of the first season of Mandalorian was, I think, 8 episodes, and the stories range from like 35 minutes to like the longest one was probably like 47 minutes. Same thing with season 2. The rest of them are movies or cartoons, which I think are half an hour. All the newly announced ones, I don't recall them saying how many episodes or what the length of the individual episodes would be. So, speaking personally, I want the various shows to be as many episodes and the episode length to be as long as it needs to be. I don't want them to pad it out to an hour if it doesn't need to. If it needs to be an hour, let it be an hour. If it only needs to be 33 minutes, that's fine too. If whatever story you're telling really only requires 6 episodes, please don't pad it out to 10. This is a problem I had with almost all of the Netflix Marvel shows, with the exception of Defenders and Iron Fist season 2. They're all 13 episodes, and none of them should be. All of them should have been at least 3 episodes shorter. There is absolutely no reason to force your show to be longer than it needs to be when it's on a service that you pay for and you're not running advertisements. Now, if it's a television model, it has to be 44 minutes, so you have 16 minutes of commercials. And it behooves you to have multiple episodes, like a full 26 episode season or whatever, so that you can keep airing it, so that you can keep running commercials in the empty spaces for the hour, or 22 minutes if it's a half hour show. But if it's on Netflix or Disney Plus, there is literally no reason to force an episode to be longer than it needs to be, or to force a series to be longer than it needs to be, more episodes than it needs to be. And if there is a reason, no one's explained it to me yet. But so far as I can tell, novice who doesn't know what the heck he's talking about, I see absolutely no reason to force a show to be any longer than it needs to be on a service that does not rely on commercials and advertising. Feel free to tell me why all of the Marvel shows needed to be 51 minutes and 13 episodes a season. I genuinely, if there's a good reason for that, I'd genuinely be interested to know. Ten episodes max is a sweet spot for streaming the series. It depends on the series. Dark Crystal, I think, was 10 episodes, and yeah, I think that was the right amount of episodes for that story. Iron Fist season 2 was 10 episodes, and that was a few too many. There are some shows that I think probably need more than that because they're just really long stories. So again, I just genuinely think that shows should be as long as they need to be, especially when you don't have to consider leaving space for advertising, which you don't on streaming services because you pay for the service. There's no advertising on it. There's no commercials. You don't have to sell me on the thing I already bought. Just make good content that I want to watch. That's it. Are Hulu and Disney Plus really going to merge? I don't know. I hate Hulu. There's some. The only thing I don't like about Disney Plus, from a service and video player standpoint, is they do this obnoxious, incredibly irritating thing, where when you get to the end of a show or movie, and the credits start, the screen compresses down into a little window so that they can, I guess, like if you were watching Moana, you probably want to watch Mary Poppins. No, I want to watch the credits. Stop doing that. Not just because I find it annoying, but it's really insulting to all the people who worked really hard on the movie or the show. Do that when the credits are over. Some people, not everyone, probably not even most, like watching the credits. I'm one of those weird people who do. Stop doing that. It annoys me, and it's insulting to the people who work hard on these shows. It's like, oh, here's the credits, but no one gives a shit about the people who worked really hard on this. Screw them. Watch more stuff. I'm already paying for your service. I'm here. You've got my money. You don't need to sell me on it. I already bought it. Stop that. Or at the very least, the very bare minimum that you should do is give me the option to turn that off. There should be a setting that says, do you like watching credits? Check. Okay. We won't, compress into a little window. Other than that, there are some other things. Disney Plus, I also, navigation is not easy. Like, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like, when you watch a show, getting back. If you're watching a show that has, like Mandalorian, which has 8 episodes, it will not do a grid of episodes. It's only one linear list. It's kind of like the obnoxiousness of scrolling through your weapons or shields or whatever in Breath of the Wild. They don't use the screen space. Neither does Disney Plus, because you can only see 6 episodes at a time. So if you just watched episode 7 and you return to the Mandalorian page, that whole thing resets. You have to go down, click on season 2 because it defaults to season 1, even though you were just watching season 2, and then you have to click on the thing to scroll the thing all the way over so you can click on episode 8. Well, that's some really bad design. But I put up with it because I like some of the content. Hulu, on the other hand, I don't bother with because at least the last time I bothered with the service, I don't know how it's changed in the interim, but it doesn't work. Here's the problem I have with Hulu. Even though you're paying money for it, it still has advertising in the show. I think there's a higher tier you can pay to get rid of it. I don't know. My guess is it doesn't work. Because nothing on Hulu works. But here's my experience on Hulu. I click on a show, start watching the show. We get to an ad break. It plays 2 minutes worth of ads. There is only a pool of 3 ads There are 3 ads, period. So it shows you the same 3 ads over and over and over and over until I don't want to buy a Hyundai out of spite because I'm sick of hearing about it. And then the show won't load once the ad play is over. So you have to refresh the screen, which resets the ad play. So you have to sit there and watch the same damn ads again, and then hope that once they're over, the show actually loads this time. Oh, and if you try and skip around, like if you had to go to the bathroom or someone called or you sneezed and you missed something and you like scrub back to see what they said, there's a good chance it might start an ad play again and you'll have the same problems. I don't know if that's still a problem on Hulu, but that was enough for me to say, yeah, I'm not using this service, period. It is not worth the time. That is more frustration than I can bear. I don't have the patience for it. So. Chaos says I was fine with Daredevil being longer. The rest could have been shorter. Daredevil, all 3 seasons, in my humble yet inerrant opinion, could have been shorter. First season could have been just a couple episodes. I think maybe 2 or 3 episodes shorter would have been fine. Second season, they could have chopped about half of it out, mainly because it just wasn't a very good season. The Punisher stuff I thought was pretty good. The Elektra stuff was not, and really dragged. It was boring. It wasn't the fault of the actor. The actor was fine. It was just the whole story didn't work. Daredevil season 3 is fine. It's, again, just a bit too long. It doesn't like have a particular point where it drags. It's just generally too long. Like the whole thing could have been condensed down into probably 10 episodes. It didn't need to be as long as it was. It wasn't bad. I don't think it was, I wasn't sitting there like, oh my God, please move on. But it was longer than it needed to be. But, your mileage may vary. First season of Daredevil, I'm fine with 13 episodes. The rest of the Marvels, the flick should have been 10. Again, I really don't want anyone to lock it to a specific number, as long as it needs to be. If it's 9 episodes, fine. And if all the episodes are different lengths, like one episode is 50 minutes and one's 33 minutes and one's 40 minutes, fine, as long as it needs to be. When you don't have the constraints of advertising, you have the freedom to produce a show that's only as long, that is as long as it needs to be. If it needs to be an hour and 5 minutes, you can do that. If it only needs to be 25 minutes, you can do that too. If it needs to be 11 episodes, go for it. It needs to be 15. If you have the budget for it, great. Only needs to be 6. You probably shouldn't drag it out any longer than that because then it's going to be boring. So, yeah, I have never in my life watched a show and thought, you know what? They should have dragged this out longer just to reach an arbitrary number of episodes. This 26 episode anime or whatever, it should have been 30 episodes. Story doesn't require it, but it's a nice round number. Should just just arbitrarily be 30. No, at least it's just not the way I think. I sounded seriously dashing when I said I find it annoying. That's difficult to be dashing when complaining about something, especially complaining about Hulu or whatever I was talking about. Hulu Plus does not have ads, says Chaos. Okay. I think the moral of the story is if you have the budget to make a show as long as it needs to be, do so, but don't make it any longer if it doesn't need to be any longer than that. You know, um, dragging out a show does not make it a bad show. It just makes it flawed in a specific way. I mean, like, I generally enjoy almost all of the Marvel Netflix shows, even though I felt all of them were at least a couple episodes too long. I would really, genuinely, really love to speak with someone in the know and say, okay, why are the Marvel series all 13 episodes? Just, I don't get it. Why 13? What data are you looking at that says, well, it has to? I mean, we've only got 10 episodes of story here, but we need to stretch it. We need it to be 13 50-minute episodes. Why? Why does it need to be that? The story doesn't dictate that. The story does not require that. In fact, it's detrimental. So, what else is influencing that decision? I would genuinely love to know, and I would love to get to a point in my life where I stopped screwing up generally and genuinely. I know what the two words are. I know how they're different. I know how they're used, but for some reason, I keep mixing them up when I speak. I have to think about which word I'm using. I don't know what it is with those two words. It's weird. So anyway, 8:30. That's enough. I was going to talk about Red Dead Redemption, but could do that at any time. I'm still playing the game after all. So hey everyone, thanks for hanging out with me this fine evening. I hope your holiday weekend is peachy. And I will see you next week. Tomorrow I'm gonna open some Christmas presents. I'll record myself doing that and make a video about it when I have a new computer someday. Maybe January-ish. I think sometime in 2021 would be a safe bet. But who knows how long my power supply is going to be back ordered. All right. So take care, everyone. Be healthy, be safe, have fun, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.